Hey, Dr. Brian L. Carpenter here. Unless you happen to have been living in Georgia around 2016, you've probably never heard about the largest charter school theft in that state's history. Bottom line up front, the school founder of Latin Academy Charter School would eventually plead guilty to to thefts totaling more than $1.2 million. Now, if you're like me and you want charter schools to be around, you got to ask yourself, how can this happen, right? You've got a board of directors. What happened? What went wrong? Well, to make a long story short, the founder simply went on sort of a 4-year shopping spree, is what I'd say, using school funds for everything from luxury cars to strip club visits to cruise tickets and wire transfers to a private account. He was indicted on multiple counts of fraud in October of 2015. By the following May, having few alternatives, the board closed the school's doors forever, thereby unfortunately displacing some 200 children living in the inner city of Atlanta that really need good school alternatives. Now, the saddest part of this entire debacle, had the LACS board just done one thing that it apparently did not do as part of its monthly financial oversight, I think the odds are really good that the founder's fraud would have been detected and that school would still be in business today. Wouldn't it be valuable to know what that one thing is? Well, here it is. Let's pretend that you were on the LACS board and you received an income statement every month, like most charter school boards do. Do you think you would have likely spotted the founder's fraudulent activities? I'm just going to tell you, probably not, for two very good reasons. One reason is an income statement only reflects income and expense by categories and line items within categories. For example, in the salaries category, you might have line items for teacher salaries and substitutes and so on and so forth, but you don't see individual transactions in an income statement. The second reason is that it's very easily to hide fraudulent activities, really make them completely invisible, because the income statement report itself only reflects the numbers that were actually put into the books by whoever keeps the books for your school. So all one would need to do is record fraudulent transactions as something else. For example, you could record an ATM withdrawals in the books as a professional development expense and so on, and the income statement will look perfectly fine. By the way, this is exactly why I'm always saying to schools, you've got to make sure that the person who reconciles the monthly bank statement against the books is different than the person who's actually keeping the books. This is a basic separation of duties policy, and if you're not following it, you're a sitting duck. Let's suppose instead that you reviewed the school's monthly bank statement along with the income statement. Even if you don't happen to be a financial person like an accountant, a fraud examiner, or a financial manager, do you think you would notice a debit card transaction to a strip club, or a check written to a luxury car dealership? Or how about a purchase from a cruise line? Of course you would. Transactions such as these in a school bank account are as obvious as stripes on a zebra, because strip clubs, luxury car dealerships, and cruise lines are obviously not what we would call customary payees for the school. So here are the two takeaways that I want your board to get from this video. Although your board should receive and review an income statement and a balance sheet every month, by themselves, they are insufficient when it comes to financial oversight. This is because, as I've said, fraudulent transactions can be easily hidden in the books, and it's vital that you look at those source documents like bank and credit card statements in order to see what the transactions are. You say, well, Brian, I'm pretty sure that I would spot a payment to a strip club or a cruise line. I'm not a fraud examiner. What if the fraud isn't obvious by the payee? What other kinds of red flags are there? That's a great question, and it's one that I answer in detail in my forthcoming book, Follow the Money: How Your Charter School Board Can Exercise Informed Financial Oversight. In the book, I'm going to be explaining 29 potential red flags in source documents that should prompt you to look at a given transaction in more detail. So if you want to download a free PDF of those 29 red flags, just click the link below this video. Here's just one example. I didn't learn this until I went back to school to study forensic accounting, but very few transactions in real life actually end in 0 cents or on the even dollar. So with the exception of things like coaching stipends, performance bonuses, audit fees, attorney fees, consulting, organizational dues to your state's charter school association, etc. Almost all expenses in real life end in dollars and cents. So, for example, if you're buying school supplies, it's much more likely that the cost is going to be, say, $247.68 than it's going to be $247 even. Thus, when you're reviewing a bank or credit card statement, pay close attention to anything ending on the whole dollar. Some examples of potentially problematic entries are ATM withdrawals, teller checks, wire transfers to other accounts, and payments to individuals other than payroll checks. Now, if you see any of those things when you're looking into the bank statement, don't jump up and start accusing people of fraud. That'll get you in trouble. But you do want to consider it a red flag that needs to be looked into further. By the way, I mentioned ATM withdrawals just a moment ago. I can't emphasize this enough. My recommendation for charter schools is don't have debit cards. I've literally lost track of the number of schools over the years where they became victims of fraud because the board allowed the existence of debit cards within the school. Yes, it's fine if you're using it as a purchase card, just so long as the feature that allows you to get cash back or to make a cash withdrawal is turned off at the bank level. It's fine to use it as a purchase card, but other than that, a straight ATM card, you don't need it. You can have a petty cash account, you can manage that, but there is no need for a debit card within the school. Now, one final word of advice when it comes to reviewing source documents: you want to make sure that you are downloading the source documents that you intend to review directly from the company that produced them, so the bank or the credit card. This is because you want to make sure that somebody isn't, jimmying the source documents. And believe me, this is a real risk. According to recent research by the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, to which I belong, 32% of all cases of occupational frauds that we know about involved altering the source document. You say, well, how easy or difficult is it to modify a source document? I actually did it once for a workshop I was teaching. I downloaded my bank statements for my consulting business, used a $10 PDF editor, and completely changed the nature of the transactions and shared that with the group. The account number and everything was changed, and they did not know that that document had been that copy had been altered. So you want to get the source documents directly. And by the way, this sort of closing thought: none of these recommendations have anything to do with whether your school trusts management, or it's just the founder and you trust them, or it's the founding board chair and everybody trusts him because he's so trustworthy. The LACS board obviously trusted the school's founder because he was a trustworthy person until he wasn't. So the board's role is always to verify. You can trust all you want, but you need to verify. That's what your duty is verify. If you do this every month, look at the source documents: bank, credit card. I also recommend maybe quarterly payroll reports, make sure no ghost employees, that kind of thing. Your board will be making great strides in making sure that fraud, waste, and abuse don't occur in your charter school. Until next time, I'm Dr. Brian L. Carpenter.